Hello everyone. Welcome to the Cloud Careers YouTube channel. This is the session 8 of our free Linux training. In order to start your cloud and DevOps journey, Linux is something which is very important. As a part of that aim and goal, we have started the prerequisite sessions. And this is the session 8. And in this session, we are going to talk about how to download a file or how to browse a file from your Linux machine. And also we are going to talk about some important information related to your disk, storage information, along with the browser related information. A lot of people will think in Linux, you don't have the concept of browser, but in Linux, you also have the concept of browser. For example, if you want to open Google, so what you do, you type google.com. So it's opening your Chrome, right? Technically, you're reading the content with the help of the Google Chrome browser. Similarly, in Linux also, you have something called as curl. Curl stands for client URL. Okay, this is also a tool which will be existing, okay, on the top of your Linux by default. So you take any flavor of Linux, by default this tool or this utility will be there by default on the top of your Linux. And this is a text-based browser. Okay, it's a text-based browser. That means if you want to read some content from the internet or your Linux machine, you can do that. In order to do that, the syntax for that is curl URL that you want to access. Okay, now that content you can access it. For example, I would like to access a content and the access content is this. For example, I would like to read these notes, okay, from my computer, from my Linux server. I already connected to my Linux server. Okay, and if you can see that just before the session, 30 minutes before, I have connected to the session, and the session is, and the server is up from last 28 minutes. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to browse the content. Okay, this content is available in the internet. Now, I would like to browse the content. In order to browse the content, you cannot directly copy paste it and do a curl. It will not work because if you see this is a blob. Okay, so curl is just a text based editor. Okay, so in order to read a text based file, all you need to do is you need to click on raw here. Raw stands for it's a raw file, which is nothing but a plain text file. Now you can copy the file. You come here, say curl. Okay, this is going to read the file which is available on the internet and displays on your computer, on your server. Okay, client CURL or curl stands for client URL, which is a browser based utility. And if you see this at the bottom, and if you see at the top, you can see something called as, okay, it's downloading, it has downloaded, it went somewhere, something it's showing to you, right? For example, let me show you here. So here, if you see this, you're getting this. So in order to browse the file, you can use it. And sometimes what you get is you also get something like I'm downloading something and all. In order to silence that unnecessary output, you can also use -s flag. -s flag stands for silent, which is going to suppress the format apart from the needed. Like sometimes you get an line telling that I am downloading that and it is going there and all. If you don't want that, you can also silent the unwanted output. So using the curl, you can browse some content from the internet. Okay. Now next thing, how can I download a file from the internet? Let's assume I want to download a file from the internet. Okay, I want to download a file from the internet. Typically, okay, then how can I do that in Linux? And how can I do that in Linux? You take any softwares that are available in the internet with respect to the Linux are available in the form of a format called as tar. Almost all the Linux distributions or almost all the Linux packages or almost all the Linux softwares are available in a format called as tar. Tar is a file format, which is an archival format. Okay, which is going to group all together in a file. It's just like binding a file and putting a seal on the top of it. Okay, so in Linux also you have the same format what we use in zip. The main difference between zip and tar is, so tar is just used to put the all sort of files in a folder and just try to put a wrapper on top of it. And zip, the main job, and zip also does the same, but zip has an additional advantage of compression, while tar don't have by default. But if you want to compress the format also in tar, you can do that. I'm not interested in about zip because tar is something highly used, so I would like to talk about tar. So I would like to show you how to download a file and how to create a tar file and how to extract a tar file. If you want to download a file from the internet, all you need to do is wget. Wget is a command which helps you in downloading a file from the internet, and you can mention URL where you want to download. Now it's going to download the file. Let's try to see that. Now I would like to download a file called as, let's try to see that. Apache. I would like to download Apache Tomcat. This is some software. Let's assume this. Now I would like to download this software. Click on this. Now I would like to download the software. So if it is a Linux or if it is a Windows, you have a lot of formats available, and out of which I'm interested in about downloading this tar file. Downloading this tar file. If you just click this file is going to be downloaded on the top of my local machine. But I don't want to download this on the top of my local machine. Instead, what I want is I would like to download it on the top of my Linux server. In order to do that, all you need to do is hover your mouse on the top of the particular file. And once you hover on the top of the file, right click, you can see copy the link address. All you need to do is you need to come to your Linux machine, just say wget and say this. Now it's going to download the file in this particular folder. Now it's going to download a tar file with Apache Tomcat 8590 tar.gz. Let's see. Okay. Now it says that you got an issue and the issue says issue certificate has expired. So you got an exception telling that some certificate is expired. So you need to proceed without checking certificate. So it is telling in order to download, you need to use -- no check certificate at the end of the file. In Linux or in any sort of operating system or any sort of platform, when you are trying to do something, when that particular task is not happening, you'll get an error or you'll get some exception. In order to proceed further, all you need to do is you need to read the error n number of times. If you read it once, you might not understand, but you need to read it n number of times. Right? Read it once, twice, thrice, four, 5 times. So the more number of times you try to read, if you don't understand, you'll try to find some clue. Okay, it tried to say that it is trying to connect to this particular server, but what it says issued certificate was expired. In order to connect and download, don't check the certificate is what it is telling. Let's try to do that. Okay, the same thing that I would like to do without this. Okay, now it's going to download the particular file Apache Tomcat 8590 tar. Can you see this? Now certificate has expired, but I haven't told to validate. Now it has downloaded. You can see it's 157 MB per second speed. It has downloaded. And let's see LSF and LTR. You can see the Apache Tomcat 8590 has been downloaded. You might think, what is this? What is this? What is this? And what is this RWX1 and all? So this session, these things we are going to cover in tomorrow's session. Tomorrow we are going to talk about patch management in Linux, and what is sudo, what is user management, what is ownership, and what is permission. We are going to talk all of them in session 9, which is nothing but tomorrow's session. So please check tomorrow's session if you are interested about the details related to this, and it's very important and it's very interesting as well. So I have downloaded the file. Now what's next? So if you have downloaded a zip file, in order to extract the content, what you do? You do unzip, right? You right click the file and extract all, right? That is how you are unzipping a file. Similarly, if you want to open the file and see what is there inside this tar file, all you need to do is tar. I don't know how to use tar, man tar. Now it's going to show you the list of all the options. Tar manual page. Tar saves many files together into a single type or a single disk archive and can also restore individual files from the archive. Now they have also given some examples. What they say is, if you want to create a tar file, you need to use -cf. If you want to extract all the files from a particular tar file, you need to use tar. -xx stands for extract and name of the file followed by the tar file, which is going to extract all the content from the tar file and it's going to show you the existing content. Let's see. Now what I'm going to do is tar-xf Apache. Okay, the name of the file. Now you can see LSF and LTR. You can see a folder came up. Earlier, you can only see this Apache Tomcat 8590 tar.gz. Now you can see Apache Tomcat 8590. which is nothing but a directory. Now I would like to enter into this directory cd apache. Now I entered into the directory ls-ltr. So this is how you can download a file from the internet, and this is how you can extract content from the tar file. Okay, now I good. Now I'm good. Now what's next? Now we know how to download a file, how to browse a file, how to extract a file. For example, you are having multiple files, right? So for example, you have linux.txt, devops.txt, tar.txt, kubernetes.txt, all these things you have, right? For example, I would like to create a file, a directory, and the name of the directory is, okay, DevOps. Okay, DevOps. This is the directory I have created. Now I would like to copy all the files Linux into this. I would like to copy Linux, DevOps, Terraform, all the files into this directory DevOps. Okay, now it has copied all the files into the DevOps directory, LSF and LTR. Now what I want to do is I want to make a tar file. Now I want to distribute this DevOps directory to someone else. Okay, to someone else. So whenever you want to share some file, or whenever you want to preserve the integrity of the file so that you can ensure that no one has tampered that, we usually distribute the file in the form of a tar file. Now, if you want to create a tar file, how to do that? Man, tar, I don't know that. So what they're telling, tar hyphen cf is what they're telling. Okay, let's try to see that tar hyphen cf. So this is how you can get the information. Okay, all right. So let me try to show you how to create a tar file in Linux. Okay, it's a very straightforward thing. So all you need to do is so come here, tar hyphen c. C stands for create, F stands for file, and the name of the file that we want to create is, okay, DevOps, DevOps, DevOps content. Okay, so this is the file that I would like to create, tar.z, and then I would like to mention the directory. So this is the directory I would like to create a tar file with the content that is available within the folder DevOps. Now enter this. Now ls-ltr. Now you have created a file which is nothing but DevOps content tar.tz. DevOps content tar.tz. Now I would like to delete this and show you rm-rf. So rm stands for remove hyphen rf. If you want to delete a directory that is having files, you need to use this. Now you have created a directory, you have created a file called a star file, DevOps content. Now I would like to untar it. tar-xf DevOps-content. That's it. Now you can see the DevOps folder back. This is how we are going to take the backup of particular folder before you delete anything or before you're tuning something within the folder. Okay, in case if you mess things up, you can delete that particular folder. You can go back to the previous state. This is how we can make use of curl, wget, tar-xf, and tar-cf. Nothing much. So if you know this, this is more than important. This is more than enough. Okay. So next important utility that I would like to talk in Linux is grep. Grep. This is something which I would have taught about in the previous session. Grep is a file filtering utility in Linux. Linux. And the other important thing I would like to teach is pipe. This symbol is called as pipe. Pipe. Okay. So the advantage of pipe is, okay. So let me try to write it. Pipe gives the output of first command as input to the second command. Okay. All right. So pipe, this is the pipe symbol. So in Linux, we extensively use this. So whenever you use pipe, whatever the output of first command, we'll give it as an input to the second command. What exactly I meant? Let me try to show you that. So for example, I would like to show you the list of user accounts that are available in the Linux machine. We all know if you want to see the list of available user accounts in your Linux machine, all you need to do is cat etc is a directory where you can see the list of all the system configuration files. Inside that, you have a file called as passwd. This is going to show you the list of all the user accounts that are available in the Linux machine. Now, I'm not interested about all of this. I want to find the list of uh, files or list of lines that are having the word CentOS. That means you want to use a Control F option. Okay, for example, if you open a notepad and if you want to search a particular keyword, what you do? You use a command called as Control F, and in the Control F, you'll type the keyword that you want to do and you'll search it, right? Similarly, in Linux, if you want to do that, you use something called as grep, okay, pipe. So the moment you put say pipe, this will be the first command. So the output of the first command will become an input to the second command. Now what I want to do is I want to use grep. Okay, so grep is like Control F option on Windows. Okay, Control F option in Windows. Now I want to search for the word CentOS. This is going to display only the lines that is having the word CentOS. Now what exactly is going to happen? The output of the first command, this is the first command. The output of the first command will be sent as an input to the second command. What is the second command? The second command is grep CentOS. Okay. Now the output of the first command will be supplied as an input to the second command. Like this, you can also put one more pipe and you can also search for something else. Okay, so likewise you can use n number of greps followed by the pipes. Okay, pipe is a separator between two commands, or if you want to supply the output of first command as an input to the second command, then we would be using pipe symbol. Okay, so pipe is a very wonderful tool which helps you in saving a lot of your time. Okay, so when you use this cat exe password, which is going to show you the list of available user accounts. Now when you put a pipe, the output of this will be given as an input to the second command, grep. Now I have given CentOS. Now it's going to search for the particular word called as CentOS. Now hit enter. Now can you see this? Rather than displaying the whole content, what it has shown only the output that is having the word CentOS. That is having the word CentOS. Now I would like to search for a particular word called as cloud. Now let's try to see that. Now what I can do, I think the better way is, let me try to show you that. Now I would like to search, okay, wherever I have bin bash, I would like to see that. Okay, let's try to do this. Okay, grab, put in double quotes. Okay, this is what I would like to search. Okay, it's not grab. Can you see this? Now it has displayed only the lines that is having bin bash. Okay, now it's showing only the lines that is having the bin bash. Now among all, I'm interested in knowing about only the details of the CentOS user. Okay, now I want to find out only the users of the CentOS who is having bin bash. Now what you can do is you can put one more pipe and you can say CentOS. That's all. Okay, you need to use a grep. CentOS. Now it's going to show you only the lines. The first command, what it's doing, the first output of first command is shown as an input to the second command. Okay, that means it's going to search for the lines that is only having the bin bash. Now it has shown two lines, CentOS and root, and out of that output, again we have put a pipe and said grep CentOS. Out of those two lines, it is going to display only the lines that is having the word CentOS. Likewise, you can use a number of pipe symbols. Okay, so grep helps you in displaying the content that is very much needed. It is like a Control F option. It's a filtering utility in Linux. That's about it. That's about pipe and the usage of the grep. And next thing, now we know how to see the memory related information, how to see the CPU related information, right? But we never know how to see the disk utilization, how to see the disk utilization in Linux. Okay. And another thing, we also don't know how many number of disks are attached to your Linux machine. Typically, if it is a Windows machine, this is your laptop, and on the top of your laptop, you have one disk attached, right? You'll have one disk attached, right? But in case of Linux machines, you can have a number of disks that are can be attached to your Linux server. For example, if this is your Linux server, you can attach a number of disks. By default, the disk which is attached to the Linux server is referred as a root disk, okay, where the operating system information will be available. So if you want to add one more disk, yes, you can also do that. All you need to do is come here, create one more disk, like app disk, and you can also attach it. This way, you can add all the operating system related information in root disk and all the application related data on the top of the app disk. Okay, but how can I see the list of disks that are available on your computer, on your server, Linux server? And how can I see how much percentage of the storage is utilized and how much percentage of the disk is left? How can you check that? How can you check? That's where tools called as fdisk. Okay, fdisk is a utility which is going to show you man fdisk. Okay, it's going to show you the list of partition tables. So it also shows you the list of all the partition tables that are available. Okay, so we'll talk about what is partition table in the upcoming session, but I am using fdisk command to show you the list of disks that are attached to my Linux machine. Now I would like to use fdisk-l. L stands for list. So it says that command not found, fdisk. Okay. Now it shows, hey, fdisk is not a valid option. You need to use -l to show you the list of the partition tables. Fdisk-l. Now can you see this? So you got an exception telling fdisk cannot open this and permission denied. Okay. From the session one, we are talking about one thing, right? In Linux, the super user is in Linux, the super user is root user. Okay, in Linux, the super user is root user. In Windows, who is the super user? Administrator, right? So in Linux, only the root user can do all the administrator related activities. But it's never ever recommended in corporate to share the username and password of the root user. You should never share the password of the root user. But without sharing the root password, how can we do the administrator related activities like restarting the server, changing the IP address, or updating the patches, or installing new tool? So we have another tool called as sudo. So sudo is something which gives you the root level privileges to a particular user temporarily. Okay, so this gives the user to execute any particular command temporarily as a root user. Okay, within the system, who has used this, everything will be tracked. But whenever you execute any of the command with a sudo, the particular command will be executed as a root user. So how can you do that? Sudo fdisk. So fdisk is a command which needs to be executed by using root user. That means you need to sign in as a root user and then you need to execute that. But you will never ever have the password of the root user because root user is a super user. In order to monitor the activity, who has done what, if everyone knows the password of the root user, everyone tries to sign in as a root user. So there won't be any account activity. Because if everyone signs in as a root user in doing it, you will never know who has done any activity. And that's the reason this sudo comes up. So the sudo is going to give you the privilege as a root user temporarily when you execute the command. Okay. Within the system, there will be logs which are going to tell at this particular time, this particular user Mike has executed this particular command using the root privilege with sudo command. So that's the reason we are going to use sudo. So every user who is in the Linux machine will have access to sudo? Definitely no. So how can you manage that? So we'll talk about this in the user management. For now, I would like to show you sudo is a command which helps you in executing the particular command as a root user. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the same command by giving sudo as a prefix. If you execute any of the command as a sudo with sudo, it's going to execute that as a root user. For that particular command, it's going to execute the command as a root user. Sudo fdisk-l. Now it's going to show you the list of disks that are attached to the Linux machine. For now, I have attached can you see this? For now, I have seen one disk that is attached to my Linux machine. Now, what is the disk? How can I see the disk? For example, if you see 5368, almost 5 GB disk is attached to the Linux machine. And if you want to see whether that is true or not, you can come to the console and select the Linux server machine and click on the storage. And you can see the volume size is 5. The volume size is 5. Now, if you want to increase the disk size, what you need to do? Click on the volume ID. Now, earlier in the conventional methodology, if your server is on the top of the on-prem environment, if you want to increase the disk size, you need to reach out to your storage team. You need to request them, hey, I want to increase the storage size from 5 GB to 8 GB. And then they're gonna ask you, hey, provide your manager approval. And then once the manager approves, then they'll increase the disk size. Now you need to come and you need to do some scanning or something. A lot of manual stuff is involved, but in cloud, things are seamless. Even here, you need to take your manager approval to see that I want to increase the disk size based on the demand, but it's very straightforward and you can do that. All you need to do is you need to come here inside the actions, modify the volume. I would like to increase it from 5 GB to 8 GB and modify. That's it. It's going to be modified. Okay. So if you see this, you can see the status as, can you see this? Optimizing 52%. Once it reaches 100%, you are ready to use the 10 GB. But based on the type of instance you are using, you might need to restart the server so that the server will scan the new size. If not, it's going to show you only the old size. Okay, that is one key important point I would like to tell you. Okay, another important point, you can always increase the size of the disk space, but you cannot go back to the previous size. Okay, for example, you have increased it from 10 GB disk to 15 GB, but you cannot reduce the disk size. Okay, so expansion is possible, but shrinking is not possible. Okay, but it has shown you the size of the disk, but it has not shown you how much percentage of the disk is utilized, right? So that's where we are going to use another utility called as a DF. DF shows you the list of file systems that are available on the particular disk or on the particular mount points. Okay, so if you see this, DF stands for display the file system. Now, if you see this, all the information is available in bytes, which I'm not interested. So I want to show it in a human readable format. So man DF. Now, if you see this, okay, it reports a file disk space utilization. Now, if you want to see something in the human readable format, which is nothing but in MB and gigabytes, you can use something called as -H. So let's try to see that. Man df space -H. Now it's going to show you the same output in a human readable format. Okay, sorry. So df df-h. Now it's going to show you the same information in a human readable format. So as per this, it has 5 GB disk. And out of the 5 GB disk, only 1.5 GB disk is utilized, which means, for example, if you want to install some operating system on the top of Windows, you should have minimum 30 to 40 GB of disk, right? Just for operating system utilization. But in Linux, with just 1 GB of disk, you installed a server with an operating system. That's the beauty of Linux. There are some minimal versions of Linux as well, which you can also install it with just 128 MB of memory. That's the beauty of Linux. When you don't have a graphical user interface, the resources utilization of your machine are really, they will be reduced to a very greater extent. Okay, and DF-H is going to show you the list of file systems along with the utilization. This is the attached disk, which has 5 GB disk, and out of which 1.5 GB is utilized and 3.6 GB is available, which is nothing but 30% is utilized, and it is available on slash, which is nothing but root. Okay, so we have learned two commands: fdisk, which is going to show you the list of partition tables or the number of disks that are attached, and df. Okay, this is going to show you the file system. You can come here and you do a refresh. You can see here it is still optimizing. It takes some time based on the size of the disk that you're attaching, and based on the processing power of your machine, and based on the system, uh, based on the type of instance you have chosen. This optimization will take some time, and sometimes it also needs a restart. Then only you can see the updated version of your machine. So whenever you ran out of disk, or whenever the disk space utilization on your machine is going above 80 or 90%, we end up performing cleanup of unwanted files or directories, or we'll try to add the needed storage. All right, perfect. And yeah, that's for today's session. In the next session, I'm going to talk about, next session will be very interesting. Next session, I'm going to talk about networking related information, which is very much important. In the next session, I'm going to talk about networking and public IP and private IP. So I'm going to also talk about ports as well, network ports as well. And then I'm going to talk about patch management in Linux. After that, I also want to talk about user management and file permissions and ownership. Okay, so all these topics, I'm going to cover them in the upcoming session, which is nothing but our session 9. And session 9 is going to be little lengthy. So please ensure you practice all of them. Hope the session is interesting. If you like the content, please ensure you subscribe to the channel and hit a like button to the content. This helps us motivate further to post more videos. Thank you very much and happy learning. And I'll see you in the next session.